Welcome everyone to the Thunder Buddies podcast, your source for all things Thunder basketball, courtesy of the Oklahoman. My name is Justin Martinez, and today we got a different Thunder Buddy on the podcast. No Joe Masato this time around. We got Jordan Davis. Now, that name sounds familiar. He is our high school reporter, but also helps out with OKC Thunder coverage. You probably saw some of his work last season during OKC's title run. You've seen a little bit of it this year as well. Jordan, how you doing, man? We appreciate you being on the show.
I'm doing good. It's a busy time for us with high school football wrapping up. We have the last week of state championships. But yeah, it's been pretty fun. It's been fun coming out to several games this year, and I'm just glad to help and finally be on the podcast. So
For sure, man, for sure. OKC obviously off to a historic start to the season, just improved to 23 and 1 last night with a 131 to 101 road win over the Utah Jazz. A game where seven players from its 15-man roster were not available, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We'll get into that here in a
mhm.
bit. But a team just continues to win. Obviously, you've got high school stuff going on, but from your perspective, what has it been like to see this team get off to this sort of a start?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's historic and going to the games even like it's to the point where it's like, it's like you kind of expect a win. So the game, like the way that the game goes is a little bit how do I explain? Like obviously it's fun covering the games, but with the way that they're winning in the margin, like they have like, if I'm not mistaken, like the greatest margin of victory right now of all time, like as far as like average points go, I think.
Yeah,
But
16.1.
yeah, like so, and then obviously with the record, it's seeming like they can inch closer and closer, at least being in the top five, or at least being in that conversation when the season is over. I mean, because they won 68 a year ago. So, but yeah, it's been pretty special. I mean, to see from afar and see it from up close, just how well that they played, especially with all the moving parts and guys getting injured. J-Dub is out for the first 20 or so games, then he goes out, and Isaiah Hardenstein goes down with his injury, and they're still flowing and peaking at all-time levels. So it's been really impressive to see and be able to, like I said, cover and see up close and watch from afar as well.
Definitely. OKC, obviously, the goal is to win a second straight championship, but they could also win a first championship in this upcoming NBA Cup tournament. OKC is going to host the Phoenix Suns, a team that it faced in group play, actually. It's going to host them on Wednesday at, I have the time here. I should know this off the top of my head. That's bad on my part, but 6:30 on Wednesday. A chance to win an NBA Cup championship a couple games from now. The team, obviously OKC, reached last year's NBA Cup title game, lost to Milwaukee. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to give our round by round predictions of the entire NBA Cup, the entire 8 team tournament. Jordan, if that sounds good with you, man, let's go ahead and jump into it.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Let's go.
Let's get it. All right, we're going to start off in chronological order here. So the Eastern Conference teams will face or will have their quarterfinals games on Tuesday. Let's take a quick look at their side of the bracket. Number one, Orlando versus number four, Miami on Tuesday at 5 p.m. And then it is number two, Toronto hosting number four, New York at 7:30. Now, all of these games are going to be on Prime, and we obviously know what's at stake as well. The winner of this
Hmm.
entire tournament, each player will receive $530,000. Not a bad chunk of change. Let's get started with this Orlando versus Miami game. Now, something that's going to kind of be a reoccurring theme here is there are some injuries on each of these teams, and we're not quite
Yeah.
sure who's going to be playing. We'll know a little bit more once today's injury report comes out, usually comes out in the afternoon. But a quick look at the injuries for this matchup. Obviously, for Orlando, Franz Wagner, most recent one, had a lower left leg injury against New York on Saturday or on Sunday, I should say. Didn't look too good. He's going to get examined today. Obviously, hoping the best for him, but a very key player there. Paolo Banchero did recently return after missing 10 games due to a left groin strain, so he's back. And then Tyler Hero for Miami has missed the last 2 games due to a right big toe contusion. Not sure if he'll be able to play, but just getting started, assuming these guys are able to play. What kind of stands out to you about this matchup?
Well, like I said, it really depends on who plays, but obviously, I think defensively on both sides of the ball, Is really what stands out to me. Obviously, Orlando, both of these teams, one of the better teams defensively, but obviously Miami this year, I believe, if not, they have the number one offense. They're top three in offense with their new offense and how they're screening and being less ball dominant for one player or one point guard or one person in general at the top. So that's probably what the biggest thing that points me out to Miami with the way that Bam obviously has played throughout the year. Andrew Wiggins has had a big year, and Kalel well as well, and Hami Jaquez off the bench has played really well as well. So, and then obviously Orlando with the way that you said, obviously Paulo missed some time. Franz is set to it looks appear from the injury that we saw yesterday missed some time as well. But you've also got a lot of really good minutes, obviously from players like Jalen Suggs, who have also stepped up as they have all year for the last few years for that team. So I think with those things being said, again, we still have to see who's gonna play. But if I had to be a betting man, I think that I would put my marbles on Miami on the road to go on the road and be able to handle this. I just think that when you look at the matchup itself, I think that it caters more so in Miami's favor, especially with I mean, like you said, we haven't seen the injury reports yet that are going to come out this afternoon, but I think it's fair to say that Franz probably is going to miss some time with his injury. And him being, obviously one of their primary ball handlers and their primary scorers and as far as facilitators go, I think that that will obviously swing this game in a different direction that they could have went had he been on the floor. And I believe, and I'm going to assume that Tyler Hero plays, but even if he doesn't, just the way that Davion Mitchell has also been playing for the Miami Heat has been big this year. So I think that I'm going to give Miami the edge in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you there. You mentioned Miami's offense has really taken a jump. We know what they've done defensively throughout the years under Coach Spo, but also got to give credit to Orlando's offense has really stepped up
Yeah.
as well. This is an offense that is ranked like bottom 10 in the NBA in terms of offensive rating for like the past decade and a half. But this year is not the case. Now, the big thing for them is they have decided to speed up the game. They ranked dead
Yeah.
last in pace last season. This time around, they rank 12th. So a big jump there. Also ranked 25th in fast break points last season. Now they're second at 18.5 fast break points per game. So this is a team that likes to run, but obviously, like you mentioned, that injury for Franz Wagner, you would have to assume he's not able to play. Again, wishing the best for him, but he's a big contributor in terms of scoring. He's able to get into the paint, but also defensively as well. He's one of their better defenders too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do lean towards Miami in this one. I think Miami is the more well-rounded team. If I had to trust which offense will continue to play well the rest of the season, I do trust Miami a little bit more. Orlando obviously is still very limited in terms of its floor spacing.
Hmm.
So I'm going to go with Miami in this one as well. And also, they seem to have a cleaner bill of health to obviously with the exception of Tyler Hero. We'll see if he plays. But yeah, I'm going to go with Miami in this one. So that's an easy one. We're kind of wondering like what's going to happen if we have a tie here on our predictions. We'll figure that out. We'll cross
Hmm.
that bridge when we get to it. But I think we are in agreement here of Miami advancing to the
Yeah.
semifinals. But who will the Heat face? It's either going to be the Toronto Raptors or the New York Knicks. Now let's take a look at the injuries for this one because again, there are some key ones. It was just announced today that RJ Barrett is going to be at least for one more week with a right knee sprain, so he will not be available. Obviously, a key two-way guy for them. And then for New York, Karl Anthony Towns didn't play on Sunday due to left calf tightness against Orlando. It was only his first game missed, so we'll see if that was just a precautionary thing. Maybe get him some rest before the cup starts. We'll see what his availability is. And then OG Anunoby recently returned as well after missing 9 games due to a left hamstring strain. So, Jordan, the floor is yours. Who you feeling in this Toronto versus New York matchup?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the New York Knicks, obviously because the bill of health obviously plays a role as well. Like when you talk about RJ Barrett being out, I mean, I know he's missed probably the last couple of weeks for this team, but even still, I think that just on paper, obviously, I think that the Knicks are just a better team than the Raptors. And then on top of the fact that, Toronto has, I'm not gonna say they've been struggling because they've definitely obviously they've lost their last 3 games. Obviously, one of those was a game winner from LeBron or Rui Hachimura. So you can, kind of categorize that how you will, but they've lost their last 3 games, like I said. Emmanuel quickly has really been kind of, in my opinion, from my vantage point, kind of struggling in that role as their lead starting point guard, even to the point where I've seen, that they've had some different lineups, switches with that too. So, but yeah, just the way that, obviously New York has been playing. I believe they're top five or like number four in scoring offense this year. Their limiting turnovers probably the best. It's probably the best offensive team, I would say, that we've seen with this iteration of the Knicks in the last 5 years with Coach Brown now in that role. So I think I'm going to go New York over Toronto here, and yeah, to be playing against who do we agree on the Heat
Miami.
in the next round for yeah for the to be able to represent the East in the NBA Cup.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I'm going with New York. Toronto obviously got off to a really strong start to the season. Kind of surpassed expectations. I mean, a lot of people kind of
Yeah.
figured, maybe it's a play-in caliber team. Got off to a really strong start. I think the big thing for them is the way that they move the basketball. This is a team that plays super unselfishly. I think Brandon Ingram has really thrived in his larger role. It's a team that gets the board or gets the rebound and is immediately, pushing it up the floor. Actually ranks first in the NBA in fast break points per game at
Hmm.
20.4. But I do trust New York to be able to slow the pace of play down. Obviously, that's a team that mostly plays in like a half court setting. So I am going to lean towards New York in this one. The big one is Karl Anthony Towns. That's the injury to watch out for. Left calf tightness. Not too sure just how serious that's going to be. If
Hmm.
that will limit him or even keep him off the floor. But we do know for sure that RJ Barrett's not going to be playing, and that is one of their leading scorers, also a defensive wing as well. So I am going to go with New York in this one, setting the stage for a New York Miami semifinals. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and jump over to the Western Conference now for the quarterfinals. A quick look at the bracket here. We obviously know the first one, the OKC Thunder versus the Phoenix Suns at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, and then also the second game of that doubleheader is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers versus the San Antonio Spurs. The Lakers are hosting that one at 9 p.m. Now, let's go ahead and get started with the OKC Thunder. A lot of injuries to get into here for the Thunder, as we mentioned at the top of the show. Seven guys from
Hmm.
the 15-man roster were not playing in this most recent game against Utah. Let's go ahead and just do a quick look at those injuries. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was out with a left or with left elbow bursitis, which is inflammation in his elbow area. Then Alex Caruso was out with the right quad contusion. Lou Dort, right adductor strain. Isaiah Hardenstein, right soleus calf strain. Isaiah Joe, left knee soreness. A lot of injuries there. The only one that has a firm timetable is Isaiah Hardenstein. He's supposed to be reevaluated sometime between December 9th to the 13th, obviously coming up right in time for the quarterfinals. Not sure if he'll be able to play. I would expect Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to play. I think this was just kind of one of those where it's his first game that he gets to rest this season, get
Yeah.
ready for a NBA Cup run. The rest, not too sure. Alex Caruso has missed an extended period of time at this point. Same for Lou Dort, obviously Hardenstein. Isaiah Joe has been out for a couple games now. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Again, injury report will be coming out later today. But then on the Phoenix side, Devin Booker is dealing with a right groin strain. Jordan Knott, their head coach, said he could play Wednesday against OKC. I don't know how, encouraging that is.
How
Just could play.
convincing
We'll
it
see.
is, yeah.
Yeah, and then Jalen Green has been out with a right hamstring strain, and Dylan Brooks is also a late addition with a left Achilles soreness. He's, um,
Mm.
been dealing with that these past few days. The big one is Devin Booker, obviously. Jalen Green has been out for a while, and Phoenix has still played well without him. But how you feeling about this matchup, Jordan? You got OKC or you got Phoenix in this group play rematch?
I think I'm gonna go with OKC. I think it's kind of safe to go with that assumption moving forward for a lot of these games the rest of the year. But I think yeah, when you just look at obviously the way that they've been, there's not much you can really say about just the way that they've been playing that has not already been said. Obviously, they're top. It feels like they're top three in pretty much every category that there is. Second in scoring, third in field goal percentage, second in turnovers per game, first in opponent, first in defense across all categories. It seems like pretty much. I mean, this is historic dominance, kind of unprecedented to a degree, at least in the last 10 to 15 years that we've seen. Just but yeah, all that aside though, matchups aside, matchup for matchup, I just think that as we saw in their previous Cup game, even though it was a closer game, I think that just down the stretch, when it comes down to it, I think with the way that obviously SGA down the stretch, probably clutch player of the year through the first 25 games of the season. The way that he plays down the stretch, along with just the shot making from the Thunder in general, and the way that this team just doesn't back down. I think that regardless of who the opponent, let me not say regardless of who the opponent is, but with the Suns, especially with the question marks of who's going to play, Devin Booker's first game back, if he does play on a groin, on a strained groin, against the team, like he said in his post game interview last time, that is known to be super physical and is really going to push his buttons and avoid him from getting to his spots in the mid range. So I think that I would still bet on OKC to win this game, even though players like I said, Dylan Brooks, who played really well this year, Colin Gillespie played really well for them. With the absence of Jalen Green and with the absence of Devin Booker, those two guys, other big men, Mark Williams and several others have really stood out. Royce St. Nicholas played some really good basketball too. So, but I don't think it'll be enough against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, I agree with you. A very scrappy Phoenix team. Again, kind of similar to Toronto, a team that maybe has surpassed expectations in terms of what people generally expected this season. But yeah, OKC is a team where you have to be at full strength, at your best, just to have a chance to beat them. And if there's any question marks, I don't think you have a really good odds there. I will say the big thing for OKC, obviously the main thing, if Devin Booker plays, you got to focus on containing him. You mentioned just how well OKC does that. Lou Dort specifically seems to really have Devin Booker's number. Look at these stats here is pretty
Mm.
insane. These two guys have faced off 13 times since Lou Dort came into the league, and Lou has held Devin Booker to 17.2% shooting from the field and
Oh wow.
20% from deep in about 40 minutes of matchup time. So one of the best when it comes to making life difficult for Devin Booker. I will say if I did have to point to like one advantage Phoenix does have in this matchup, with Isaiah Hartenstein out, especially, Phoenix really is capable of crashing the glass, causing some problems there. We saw that in the last matchup at the end of group play. OKC ended up winning that game 123 to 119 on November 28th. But Phoenix really did crash the glass in this one, out rebounded OKC 51 to 37, and also had 13 offensive rebounds compared to three for OKC. Again, possibly no Isaiah Hartenstein in this one. It's going to have to really be a group effort for guys to keep the Suns off the glass. But at the end of the day, OKC does have more talent. It's got the better player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
clutch player of the year, front runner as of right now to close out a close game if necessary. I'm going to go with OKC in this one. But who will the Thunder play in the semifinals? It's going to be either the Los Angeles Lakers or the San Antonio Spurs. Now, again, once again, injury updates here. There's a good amount of them. For the Lakers, Marcus Smart has been dealing with a left lumbar muscle strain. He's day to day, but hopes to be available on Wednesday, is the report there. The biggest one, though, is Victor Wembanyama, left calf strain that he's been dealing with. He was a full participant in practice on Sunday after not playing since November 14th, so possibly coming back. Only thing is those left calf strains, like that's not something you want to play
Yeah.
with. We know what that can lead to, as we've seen
Mm.
a lot throughout the past few years in the NBA. So we'll see what his availability is. And then also Stephon Castle has been dealing with a left hip flexor strain. He's questionable for tonight's game for San Antonio against New Orleans. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, a key perimeter defender for San Antonio. But Lakers versus Spurs, Jordan, how you feeling?
I think first I'll start with the Spurs because Wemby, like you just talked about, obviously hasn't played in almost a month, and I didn't know that he was a full participant in practice. So I think that that's definitely going to change things. Come, do they play on? They play on Wednesday as well.
Yes, yes, yeah. They have a
Yeah.
game
So
tonight, which I'm assuming Wemby probably won't play in that one, but they
mhm.
do play quarterfinals on Wednesday.
Yeah. So I think that I'm pretty sure Wemby, if he was a full participant yesterday, I'm pretty sure I would like to say that there's a good chance he plays on Wednesday against the Lakers. Um, and it's going to be in LA, correct? I
Yes,
would
LA's
assume, yeah.
hosting.
So, But yeah, I think that with Wemby returning and with the way that the Spurs obviously top five in right now in the standings in the West, our West play some really good basketball. Even when Wemby has gone down with the way that a lot of their guys have been playing. Shout out to Harrison Barnes as a superlative for that team, and he's really stepped up and made some big shots and had some big plays. But it's really been a team effort, all around from that for those guys. So. But I would like to say, as far as on the Lakers side of things, I think that just the way that the Lakers have been playing recently, obviously LeBron is back in the fold. You just talked about Marcus Smart. Is most likely going to be suiting back up, and every time he plays, he's been an irritant and a disturbance, kind of like the exact kind of player that they've needed at that guard position, especially. But yes, I think that I personally am going to say the Lakers in this one. I mean, I haven't even said Luka Doncic or Austin Reeves' name yet, and those are, two. If we're talking about this first frame of the season, I mean, those are two. Austin Reeves is playing like a top 10 player through the first month of the season, and then obviously Luka Doncic has been playing the way that he has, leading the league in scoring as well. So I think that, and then just on top of all the other things, considered just with the way that this offense, their pace and the way that they move the basketball and are finding open looks. And it seems like, no matter what, Luca down, if you're putting like, I don't know if you saw the game last night, but they're putting Luca and LeBron in like pick and roll sets. And, it's like you have to choose one. It's like, do you want to leave LeBron wide open for three and shooting over 40% from three? Or do you want to let Luca get to the rim and I believe he's like has some historic, efficiency shooting at the rim. Like he's only missed like four shots at the rim this year or something crazy that I saw the other day. But it's like, do you want him to get to the rim and get downhill and then either that layup and you open up a DeAndre Ayton, alley oop? So long story short, just the way that they've been playing, I don't know if we saw these two teams face off already this year and the Lakers got the win. So I think that I'm gonna go with the Lakers again.
Yeah, that last point you brought up, LA got that win. That was also a tough game for Victor Wembanyama. Really
Yeah.
kind of started a little bit of like a slump for him after a really hot start to the season. I think the big thing the Lakers did really well was they were kind of getting ahead of the curve when it comes to double teaming Wemby. A lot of teams wait
Yeah.
until he gets set up on the block, already starts to back down his opponent, then they bring the help. By then it's too late. But I think the Lakers did a really good job of like as soon as he's catching that ball, or even like it looks like he's about to, they're already starting to deter that by bringing in some help. Wemby was held to just 19 points in that matchup on 5 for 14 shooting, and he had 5 turnovers as he really did struggle with that added pressure. LA won that game
And he's coming
118.
back from injury this time. So
Exactly.
that's
It's a
that's
tough
another
matchup.
element.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup to come back from after, like you said, about a month of not playing. So I am going to go with the Lakers. This to me is like the closest one so far that we've had.
Hmm.
But I am still going with the Lakers. I just think too many offensive weapons. We already know what Luca does, what LeBron does, but Austin Reeves, like you mentioned, has just been a total game changer for them. I think even they've gotten some good production out of like Rui Hachimura, had that game winning 3-pointer the other night, but also has just been shooting the three ball really well this season. Jake
Yeah.
LaRavia has stepped up. Marcus Smart, you mentioned defensively. DeAndre Ayton has actually been playing some good basketball as well. As just a rim runner, a nice partner there with Luca. So I am going to go with the Lakers. I think first game back for Wemby, presumably. It'll be a tough matchup for him. Still not sure what Stephon Castle's availability will be either. So going to go with the Lakers there, advancing to the semifinals. Let's move back over to the Eastern Conference semifinals. That game will be Saturday, December 13th in Las Vegas. And we said it's going to be the Heat versus the
The
Knicks
Knicks.
at 4:30 p.m. How are you feeling about this matchup?
I think I'm gonna also go with the Knicks again. I mean, based off of, I mean, when you come to a game like this, I mean, these are both really strong defensive units. But at the end of the day, uh, just offensively, I think it really just comes down to the Knicks. I think obviously over the past year, really built a lot of chemistry, and even before Karl Anthony Towns came in the mix, them making semifinal run after semifinal run, with the way that offense has been, and it seems like every year they get more and more efficient. Obviously, like I said, with Coach Brown now in the mix, bringing in some of his offensive philosophies, I think things have been even farther smooth sailing, and then just Jalen Brunson on top of that, obviously him being the anchor for this offense. and the way that they've played throughout this start of this season, I think that I'm going to go with Brunson. And I just think that when you look at the matchups, I think they're going to cause a lot of, again, when it just comes down to screening and moving around. And, no, and don't get me wrong, like I think Miami has a lot of, especially with, again, we don't know if Tyler Hero's playing or not, but especially with, the way that they have defenders at the guard position, and they have a lot of switchable defenders. They have a lot of guys that can really blow up plays and do things that'll make this game, I believe, to be a little bit closer, especially in the first half or heading into the fourth quarter. But I mean, when you have a player like Jalen Brunson, dynamic players like him and Cat, and with the way that obviously, sorry, with the way that I'm blanking on his name. Sorry, Miles Bridges. I mean, like Mikal Bridges
Hell
has
yeah.
played as well. I just give me. I think I'm gonna take New York to be able to come out on top. Like I said, it's gonna. I think it'll be close to the first couple of quarters, but then they'll pull away in the fourth.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. I think especially once you get like this deep into this tournament, it really does kind of have like a playoff feel, and a lot of times that comes
Yeah,
down to like who's got the better guy who you can give the ball to and trust he's going to get you a bucket, especially down the stretch. And that's Jalen Brunson. Honestly, by a wide margin in this matchup, I don't think there's anyone else really close to him in that department. So I do feel like New York has the advantage there. Also, as good of a team Miami is defensively. New York has some wing defenders they can throw like Norman Powell, who's having an incredible season.
yeah.
Tyler Hero does play as well. They've got some guys that they could throw on him as well. OG Anunoby, the Mikal Bridges, Josh Harts of the world. So I'm going to go with New York as well. I think this will be a close one, but down the stretch, who's got that guy who I trust more to finish it up? I'm going to say Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks advancing to the championship game. It will face either in our bracket here OKC or the Los Angeles Lakers. That game would be scheduled for 8 p.m. on Saturday, December 13th. So that'll be a doubleheader. This will be the second game of that. Uh, a team that or a matchup that we have seen already this season. But how do you feel about it in a bit of like a playoff atmosphere? Who you got in this one?
I think this game will be closer. I think it's because it's not hard to say that this game will be closer than it was the last time they played each other because they got beat by what 30-40. I was in the building for that one.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, I think it'll be a much closer game, a much tighter knit game between these two teams. And with obviously LeBron back in the mix and Marcus Smart back in the mix. I mean, I know Marcus Smart played against, the Thunder before, but with LeBron obviously back in the mix, I think that, it adds another element to what this game could potentially be. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we saw what, the Lakers struggled with when it came to in that, offensively in that Thunder game. And obviously they struggled defensively as well, just being able to switch and move, which I think is the Lakers' number one problem, which is why I don't know unless, until, trade deadline or a month from now when they can trade certain contracts or whatnot, they'll need to probably get some more wing defender, even though that, the players like Adu Thero, and I know that, Jared Vanderbilt doesn't play much, but I think that that's their number one issue, especially against a team like the Thunder, if they want to be contenders, so to speak. That rim presence, they need to have, some better rim protection, in my opinion, than DeAndre Ayton. But long story short, I think that the Thunder just present problems that the Lakers just aren't going to have answers to, especially with them trying to get things off on defense. I mean, when you have guys like Lou Dort, when you have got obviously J Dub didn't even play that game. I didn't even, obviously, when you have a guy like him now who's playing really good, obviously since he came back from that first game, one of the better defensive players, and I'm sure I don't know if Caruso will play in that game, but regardless of who it is, they just have all of the ingredients and all of kind of the anti-Laker type of guys that would really blow up a lot of plays. And you have Lou Dort on Luka Doncic. Obviously, Luka, it seems like has had his number, I would say, in their matchups, but still, I mean, to have to deal with that all night, and then it's J Dub, and then it could be Caruso, then it's Cason Wallace. I mean, for all the wings and all the talent that the Lakers have, obviously the Thunder just have the counters for all of those, for everything that the Lakers can throw out at them. So I think, like I said, it'll be kind of like what I just said about the Heat and the Knicks game. I think it'll be close, probably, or within close proximity for the first three and a half ish quarters. But I think when it just comes down to it, I think, like I said, when it comes down to defense, I just think that Shea is probably going to just start cooking. Shea and J Dub probably just going to start cooking, and Chet. down the stretch of these games, and the Lakers probably just won't have an answer. So I will say that Oklahoma City's heading back to the NBA Cup championship game.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point. I think Los Angeles should like how it feels in a series against most teams in the West. OKC though is one of those where it's just yeah, it's just matchup problems. Obviously, like you mentioned, OKC is a team that puts so much pressure at the rim with obviously Shea driving. J-Dub has been very aggressive driving in his return. DeAndre Ayton, not the best, not the most ideal rim protector. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, we know what he does scoring wise. Outside of like Marcus Smart, it's not a ton of options. I think the best way to defend Shea, or at least the only way you could really have a decent shot, would be having like a bigger wing on him. It's not a ton of options like that for the Lakers. So I am going with OKC in this one. Also, another thing to point out, OKC is a very disciplined defense. And the big thing for Los Angeles, or one of the big things, it's a team that loves to get to the free throw line.
Yeah.
Just looking at the stats here, the Lakers rank fourth in free throw attempts per game at 28.3. You've obviously got Luka Doncic getting a lot of those, Austin Reeves as well. Now LeBron's back in the mix. But we saw in that last matchup, OKC did a really good job of showing its hands, just playing clean defense, not allowing some easy opportunities at the charity stripe. So I do feel like this is a matchup that heavily favors OKC. The Lakers are going to probably have home court advantage with this being a Vegas game. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Lakers fans showing up there, and it's going to be, a tough playoff environment. But at the end of the day, I do trust OKC more. I feel like this is a matchup that favors it. So it's going to be OKC versus the New York Knicks, we said, right? In the
Yeah.
championship game, that one would be set for Tuesday, December 16th in Las Vegas at 7:30. Chance for redemption for OKC after falling short to Milwaukee in last year's Cup championship. Jordan, do you feel like they can get it done this time around?
I do. And I think that this is also potentially a preview for the, obviously this could have been the matchup last year had things went differently for Indiana, but I do think that the Thunder will get it done. Obviously, I think that this is one of, as far as like on paper, this is one of the better matchups, just like the Laker game. I mean, this is one of the better matchups of the year so far. And just with the way, like I said, with the way that the Knicks have been playing offensively, which is really, obviously they played well in the past few. It seems like this year offensively, they really turned it up a notch with the way that, like I said, Jalen Brunson and others in the supporting cast have really played throughout the first couple of weeks of this season. But I'm gonna have to go with the OKC Thunder. I just again when usually the Knicks are playing against or they're used to having Ken being able to manipulate the defense to the point where you have Jalen Brunson going down here. That's gonna open up things for either Cat at the rim or Cat on the perimeter, or same thing with OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. I mean, and those are guys that, especially Mikal, likes to get his work in the mid range. Same thing with Brunson. And like I said, when you just have the versatility of when you have the versatile defenders that the OKC brings, I just think that it's definitely going to cause a bit of issue as far as like generating points, especially down the stretch. For a team that obviously, it's very, at least in the past, or at least recently, have been very like, all right, give Jalen the ball and get out the way kind of thing. And I just don't think that that's going to happen on a team that's consistently blitzing the ball and it's going to consistently blitz Jalen Brunson with all the height and size that OKC possesses just on the perimeter. So I think that it's definitely going to be a struggle. I think for at a point for the Knicks to get things going offensively in the second half, and I believe that that is going to lead to OKC not only having a chance to be one of the in NBA history to win both the Cup, NBA Cup, and NBA Finals in the same season.
Yeah, once again, we are in agreement for this entire episode. I'm going with OKC in this one. Like you mentioned, I just think, obviously, assuming health, there's a lot of injuries to guys like Caruso and Dort, but like assuming health, OKC just has so many options they can throw at Jalen Brunson, whether it's guards or even like some bigger wings and J Dub as well, who can defend pretty much every position. Karl Anthony Towns presents his challenges, but Chet Holmgren is a center who can easily roam out to the perimeter and meet him there and cause some problems there. Maybe Isaiah Hartenstein will be available by then. He's a hard-nosed defender, a good rim protector. And then on the flip side, obviously New York has like wing defenders, but when it comes to actually protecting the paint, outside of Mitchell Robinson,
Yeah.
OKC is going to be able to put a lot of pressure on the rim, and it's going to be a really tough challenge for Karl Anthony Towns and company to contain that. So I'm going to go with OKC. Again, there's a lot of injuries there, some question marks. We'll know more about that matchup if it does happen as we get closer. But on paper, this is just a team that is more versatile, has the best player, probably has the best number two option there as well. And just so much depth, so much versatility, like we mentioned. So I'm going to go with OKC. Maybe a little extra motivation for the Thunder as well to get this championship. I'm sure J-Will be pushing for them to get this win and get that paycheck. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to go with OKC in this one. But it should be a very fun NBA Cup, as we mentioned, starting up on Tuesday before OKC will be starting with that quarterfinals game at 6:30 p.m. at home against Phoenix. Jordan, are we going to see you out at that one, man? Are you making the trip on
On
Wednesday?
Wednesday, I'll, you know what? It's crazy. I was thinking about it. That's actually a down day for me. Football doesn't start till Thursday, so there's a good chance I'll be out there. I probably will be there in some capacity.
Well, there you go. Make sure to stick around, follow all of our coverage of the Thunder from myself, from Joe Masato, Jenny Carlson, Jordan when he's helping out as well does some great work. We appreciate everyone for listening. Jordan, we appreciate you as well for being on the show, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Like I said, anytime. I'm looking forward to being on more times in the future.
For sure, man. All right, everybody, y'all take care.